Dun, 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 dun,
This is Captain Kirk, and you're listening to FBG Live.
Today is Sunday, May 17th, and I'm your host for the evening, Steve OBrien. You're listening to the Republic of Texas Radio. And we talk about Texas independence and how we should be, well, focused on that and, working to achieve that goal. Kind of with some new equipment, and I hope this is coming out good. The last time I did, but anyways, you don't want to talk about that. So much to talk about news and dealing with Texas independence and, well, the whole world around us. Jump right in and actually start talking monetary issues. And, well, there are little things that are going on over at the Republic of Texas that are happening here in occupied America or the occupied U.S., corporate United States of America, the democracy that wages war on the rest of the world. I know that's harsh, but it's really true. The more you look at it, the more countries that the United States, it's no wonder that everybody's kind of mad at us. I just watched a video. It's a new documentary out. It's called Hellstorm, Under the World, Under the Earth, and blah, 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 Satan Storm. And it talks about a part of history that isn't talked about very much. I'd suggest that you go over to YouTube and take a look at it. It follows me and different things, but it gave me a work of World War II and some insights into some stuff that, the U.S. and Russians were guilty of after World War II. That's crazy, man. The good guys here in America. Well, I don't know. Maybe we are. Who knows? This stuff is just absolutely wacky. But I'm looking at a crisis here in the United States, the corporate U.S., as more properly referred to, as they've been running a fiat monetary system since 1918. Was that in 1913? I believe it's 1918. But that's just mincing words. It was 13. It was 13 because we've got monetary systems. A fiat monetary system happens to be something that's on nothing and just a printing press and a writing. Back in 1913, the United States of America, the corporate U.S., because it was incorporated in 1800, give away all its money, all its assets, all the reserve and stood loans on right. So in that printing and printing, and so now money is just crazy, and the whole world's running on money. Now in the Republic of Texas, they're limited to transacting this, as a government, the Republic of Texas, that was, brought out of a ban in 2007. The one that Larry Hughes was president of. That thing's still going. Larry Hughes, Jerry Lahr, Richard Perkins. We had Darnicky currently as the president. Now, the Republic exists in an occupied nation, and, they don't want you out. Some of the stories in that, really to get vote where Texas decided that they were going to go ahead and join the union, and the vote the next year that said, we want out of this agreement. This is not good. I don't know that story too well, but one of the reasons we switched platforms is to get people on that actually know a lot more about those subjects, and they'll come on here and they'll tell you what they know about history and the history of Texas. What's important is really what you do today. you need to go over to our website. Sure, I guess I can call it that, thetexasrepublic.com. Now, it's an important website because for Texas, that's going to be one of the main battlegrounds. You can about what they're doing. Actually, I spent about an hour and a half listening to the last meeting over in Tomball, Texas. And by the way, the Republic of Texas meetings are held every second Saturday of the month. The next one looks like it's going to be back at Tomball again. So if you want to go to republic.com, you can actually get, they have a little clicky map and you can find it there. But if you don't, it's at VFW Post 2427, 408 Alice Road. So there you go. You should go. There's really no upcoming elections. I 2 weeks ago, and it's wonderful. Tom O'Halloran was able to recording, and you can get the entire meeting and hear what's going on it. Yeah, that stuff can be a little dry and boring, but man, there's some content in there. I didn't have time to mine it for you, so we're just going to have to wait on it. But I wanted to talk about monetary systems, and I guess a good place to start would be the Dwala system that has been, I've been talking about Dwala. And it's a way to put a little thingy on the republic.com so they can actually take donations, right? Nothing runs on nothing anymore. Some things are free, a lot of them. So, whatever. So they started doing this Dwala thing. Now, as a government, the Republic of Texas is not an individual, a subcorporation to the United States of America. So they have to figure out how to set up a bank account to transact business, to take it from Visa and whatever, and put it into a coffer and then give it to somebody. Do you chain it to your U.S., citizenship? Or citizen means, I think it's like servant of. You were a servant, right? Okay. Maybe you didn't. But anyways, it's been a royal nightmare getting this Dwala account going. I've heard lots of talk, and I don't see anything coming out of it. There's a big problem. I get money from people that want to give to the Republic. Sure, you can give gold and all that other stuff, but it's kind of hard when most people don't. That's a lot of time. I have to go buy gold because not everybody has gold and silver, and then I have to meet up with somebody. Maybe I can mail it, right? But that's a lot of commitment. A lot of people donate by their heartstrings. So Dwala would be a solution. Dwala would be very beneficial for the Republic of Texas. But I'm looking at a dead horse. I'll tell you that all the effort that's gone into it. I'm listening to the May 9th meeting at Tom and Senator Bob. I guess he's running lead on now. It's been, a lot different on it, and it's kind of everybody's hopeful, and there's things. Anyways, money is important. The Texas Republic, it needs your money. We'll figure out a way to take in donations, and we're going to have to do it rather quick. Talk Bitcoin? I don't know. Do you know how to use Bitcoin? Do you want to have a digital wallet? Well, you'll be educated in the next few years. I just heard this thing about Denmark is getting ready to make a move to a cashless society. Wouldn't that be great? Then everything that you do and everything you transact business with will be, watch, monitor, tax bonuses. They have a time, and doing all these other stuff. It gets rid of, it allows them to tax garage sales and everything like that. And once Denmark gets that going in, corporate U.S., a couple other countries will, go through that whole thing. But there's a talking point that the financial heads have been dealing with. It's called the negative interest rate. rate, and they're getting louder and louder. And what the negative interest rate means is that we're going to have to pay them to put money in the bank. So they're worried, right? Because they need to, eliminate cash and force you to do business with a bank, and right? And that's just going to be part. See, the Republic of Texas is trying to eliminate that kind of stuff. A republic does not have the right to, do all these things. The democracy that we are all, all of us in the United States of America, or the corporate U.S., however you want to call it, we're all part of that system, and we're subjects of their nation. Now, sure, some of you have filed papers and you're, free man, all this other stuff, and good for you. That's awesome. But I need one direction. I need to restore the Republic of Texas. Very, a million different ways. I feel myself personally that the Republic of Texas restoring a constitutional government is their job than trying to get the United States of America to actually how do you say this? Behave themselves, go back to what they were actually intending to do? Yeah, that's going to be a little bit tough. But here in Texas, a lot of Texans that actually care about Texas, and the United States knows that, and that's why they're doing those little drills, and that's got everybody thinking about fear and this and that and whatever. Worried about Jade Helm. Isn't that great? What is that stuff? Well, I'm not going to be covering that tonight because it's really not Texas Republic information. But I've been told I talk too negatively a lot of times. In fact, hey, those guys, everything's good. I just saw this self-help video and it told me all I have to do is think positive. Well, let's see. Can you hear me at all? I think I'm back on. We'll see. Let me see. Is it reading? Well, it looks like I lost my broadcast computer, so I'm here on the phone with you guys. It's kind of... Okay. Well, I do believe I'm back on the air. Yeah, I can hear me coming through. Well, my Skype computer just fried and just dropped me off the air. I'm not too sure what else is going on. I had made plans to get Doc Krupa on here 4 minutes ago, but I seem to have lost all the callers. So, Doc, if you're out there, why don't you call back in and we'll get you wrangled back into the lineup. Otherwise, we'll have to do it another day. Technical glitches is something that, every single host has to deal with. I was talking to a couple people, and they were making comments about Raging Elephant Radio. Now, have you ever listened to those guys? They're very interesting as far as a new media outlet. They do a very good job on their studio. They have some hosts that are dedicated. And Raging Elephant Radio, you can do a search for them, RagingElephantRadio.com, or I think that's what they go by. But that's more of the new media. They have a great angle. They focus on Texas. They focus on Texas' current state of government and whatnot. And that's really good. I've heard so many good things on there as far as for, let's say, the Republic of Texas information. That's some good stuff. Okay, now struggling. And that happens a lot. Let me go back to my old material. The Dwala account is, it's supposed to be live a week ago, and it's not. It won't be. It never will be. There's too many things that have to go on to actually get that thing going. So, as far as donations go, that was $500 investment trying to set up an LLC or a trust or something like that. And Glenn Fern was initially running the show, and it seems to be a money pit, money loser. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. The call-in number here, 347-857-4397. I will go ahead and take calls since I'm having a hard time actually getting my guest on the line. That's kind of a shame. And, well, this computer keeps screwing up, and I got to check if I'm still alive. There we go. Okay. Well, at least it's coming in, and I don't know where to go from here. Man. You know, if I really go at it, I guess I'd like to talk to you a little bit about what the Republic of Texas is in your day-to-day life, because I kind of live all this stuff, and it's very important to me that I, how do you say it, I'm a part, not even a part, I wish I didn't have to be a part of freeing Texas, but it's there, and it's the right move to do. So that means talking to people about, Texas independence. Hey, I'm hearing a little bit of a beep going on. Is anybody on the line? Well, maybe that was me. Okay. Well, I talk to people about Texas independence, and I talk to them about the corporate United States where we actually exist in. And that's kind of difficult, and it's kind of easy, all in the same. Now, talking to them about, Texas should be free is really, really quite easy. One of the sticky points is probably one of the most important points of belonging to the Republic of Texas, and Billy Ford covered this quite a bit. Or at least, there was in the May 9th meeting in Tomball, Texas, Billy Ford was talking about, 10 minutes in, 20 minutes in, and he was talking about the importance of registering. You don't register as a Texan. You make a statement that you are a Texian, and that allows you to vote, and you're part of the government. Now, the sticky point is a lot of people will sit there and tell you that they're all for. Let me click over and see if this is actually Doc. Sorry about this, guys. Production and quality is really poor this week. Hey, Doc, is that you?
I'm here, Steve.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. I lost another computer a few minutes ago.
It happens.
Well, it seems to smoked. It's too hot, won't fire up. So that's par for the course. Well, welcome, Doc.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Okay. So this is Doc Krupa. Doc, you're a Texian, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you also serve on the government as well, besides being a private individual.
Yes, I'm Chief Justice for Harris County.
What does that entail, first of all? I'm still unclear exactly all the roles.
Well, Chief Justice in the Republic covers a lot of things. You're the one that plays mediator and tries to make sure you bring two parties together and solve disputes. We should handle the elections. We're on the Commission of Roads. We serve as a notary. Many duties.
Okay. And how long you been watching, interested in the Republic of Texas, and where did you start and why?
Well, it's probably been 3 to 4 years now, I guess. What started for me was, and I didn't know it at the time, but many of the people that came into my office who were part of my patient family turned out to be Republic members. And over time, they had invited me, you ought to come check out one of our meetings, and at that time, I'd never even heard of it except the old Republic of Texas. And finally, because of the quality of people that came into my office, I figured they come see me, I ought to go up to one of their meetings and see what all this is about. And I think back then they were meeting at a convention center across from A&M up in College Station. And I went up my first meeting and was just in awe. I was so impressed of the professionalism and the passion and the willingness to do something better, anything better than what's going on. And so I started going to regular meetings.
Did you ever think about Texas independence before that, before you started putting that association with your patients? Probably
not. I knew things were pretty bad, and I didn't know there was any alternatives, but I sure was glad when I heard there was a possible one out there.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I've been aware of the Republic of Texas for about 6 years now, since I've met President Jarnicki, in a different capacity, not as a president, and we poked fun at him for many years, and then all of a sudden it started going, well, the world outside is getting worse, and we need to get a republic back, and the United States is not going to act as a republic. They haven't been doing so for a long time. I'm kind of surprised. Did you have like an oh wow moment where you realized that the world really needed some drastic changes going on around you? So I know in our previous conversations you have told me that you were an electrician, and then you've changed to that's 180 degrees being a doctor and naturopath, right?
Well, yeah, I definitely did a big change. I always say God had a sense of humor, but I ended up where I guess He wanted me. But I knew things were bad. I have many, many patients that are homeschoolers because they're fed up. People that seek out a doctor like me that doesn't give them pharmaceutical horrible medicines that harm them or over-the-counter junk that just waste their money tend to be more conservative. And I can't say that at any time I had been a particular one party anymore because I think they both fell into the same bed. But I knew things were bad, and it was kind of a breath of fresh air when I met the people at the Republic of Texas.
Okay. I want to dig a little bit more into it. Did I get it right? Are you a naturopath? Naturopath?
Well,
How do you pronounce it?
The actual title would be Doctor of Chiropractic, and I have an ACN behind my name, which is Applied Clinical Nutrition. My specialty is nutritional health care, family practice, and I do the chiropractic. Naturopath is in the works that I do, but that's a separate ND by your name for people that went to just that school. They can't do all the things that I can do.
Right. Why did you change? I mean, that sounds like a very drastic shift from being an electrician to wanting to help people and go outside of, the medical complex, let's just say. Allopathic medicine, I believe they technically call it, or something.
Yeah, they used to say we were alternative, but we've been around the longest, so I don't quite get that. I'm not sure. Something just kept pulling me. As an electrician, I worked mostly in repair, troubleshooting, electronic stuff, and I was fixing things and just kept bringing myself this direction, and one day I realized it was time to go help fix people.
Wow, that's kind of crazy. I know I was, my parents, my stepdad was a doctor and my mom was a nurse, and so I came from a medical family, and my stepdad started dying back in the 2000s, and we went through 6 years of, traditional treatments through the hospital, and my mom kind of pointed me towards the alternative medicines because the stuff they were doing wasn't helping him, and it kind of, made me, so I kind of understand where you're coming from, and that's what drove me there. But I was just wondering if there was you realized that the medical stuff, the AMA, and all these drugs that they say are good, and these practices that they say are good are not good. You know.
Yeah, well, it definitely hit me. I recently talked to our friend Tom O'Halloran that you mentioned on Raging Elephants. He was filling in, and he asked me a similar question. And what I saw was so many people taking these pharmaceutical medicines, and they were getting sicker and sicker. And then they were telling them, if you're elderly, you can't go outside in the heat, you can't go out in the cold. And I noticed that they weren't making anybody better. And if you got chemo and radiation for cancer, it was kind of like spraying Roundup on your tomato garden and pretending only the weeds would die and the tomatoes might come back. And the more I looked into this, I said, there's just got to be a better way. And the next thing I knew, I was going to pre-med and heading myself in this direction.
You interface with a lot of people currently, right? And how much of your day does the Republic of Texas or dealing with Texas independence, how much do you bump into that? Is it a lot, a little?
I'd say a fair amount. There's a lot of times we come home and there's some kind of a talk where everybody in the Republic is being on the line working on the memorial that you've mentioned several times. There's press release calls where somebody will write a press release and we work as a team to find it and get it sent out. Sometimes we're on there just through calls for people in the public that want to ask us questions and talk to us and find out something about the Republic. So it seems like 3 or 4 evenings a week there's something going on, and then throughout the day I may get emails or texts or phone calls while I'm at work. So I'd say a fair amount.
Okay. Yeah, I get a fair amount too. You know, it's just bump it into normal people, but they all know what I'm into, and most of them don't listen to my radio show because they get me live, and that's kind of annoying, I guess. But I like those personal interactions where you get to meet somebody new and tell them, well, this whole system's rigged and it's about to go, and we need to get free. At least that's my take on it. Do you have a different view of the corporate U.S., or, you know, the place of, you know, that it's in?
No, I agree with you. I've listened to many of your comments over the different shows, and I think you've pegged it perfectly. The corporate U.S., they sold their soul to the devil a long time ago, and I have no clue what they're doing or who they're doing it for, but it's certainly not for the majority of the people that would call themselves Americans, especially not the people in Texas. I watched the last 8 years because Texas didn't vote for the current guy who's at the White House. We lost NASA, we lost Stevens and Stewart that made the armored vehicles. For the first time in my life, we had to pay the Russians to go to our space station. So yeah, that things have really gotten bad in corporate USA.
All right, we're turning into a third world, you know, country, and it's right before our eyes. Meanwhile, mass media goes out and what do they say? Oh, unemployment's, you know, down again, and people are getting good jobs. And it just, I really, maybe I have a very narrow view of the world, but people aren't making as much money. Some people are, I guess. But a lot of people aren't working, don't know how to work. Do you see that? You're down in Houston area, right?
Right, Houston, Katy, Cypress area.
Yeah, is the economy doing okay down there?
I would say for some, maybe, but the oil industry has laid off a lot of people. A lot of my patients aren't working anymore. They're looking for new careers. The unemployment numbers, I would say, are pretty misleading if you're in the real world, because a lot of people ran out of unemployment, quit looking, gave up, took some part-time job, trying to work out of their home, anything to survive, but they don't have time to count on the government's numbers so the government can brag all it wants, but unless you're working for the government today, I don't think most people are doing that well.
Yeah, I actually went for unemployment one time. I think I was in my 20s, and I quit my job, and I said, well, hey, I've been working since I was 12. They should pay me for being out of work. And so I went down and I filled out all these forms and I did all this stuff, and they say, you can't have it. Well, why not? I put into it, right? There's all my money. No, well, you have to be fired or something. You can't quit. Well, they were jerks. Why would I want to work there? And so they didn't give me any, right? I've never gone back to them. The red tape and then dealing with those lines and everything, and I really don't like taking from the government. I don't like them taking from me. Yeah, so there's probably a few other people like me, and I'm not a seasonal user of unemployment. One thought that I've been wanting to talk to you about is the role of the Republic of Texas when Texas regains its independence. How are we going to deal with some of these issues like, well, water quality, pharmaceuticals in Texas? Do we need to have an FDA? Do we want to make it so? I mean, how do you deal with that? Have you ever put your head around that?
Oh, sure. Well, first off, the FDA, if they recommend something, that I'm going the other direction, because they recommend all the pharmaceutical stuff that's killing people, and they put their stamp on it, and these poor people go to the pharmacy thinking they're getting something good. I had a patient one time, because nutritional supplements don't fall under the FDA. They don't get involved. And the products that I carry are only sold to licensed doctors with an education in this field and a passion for this. And a patient had looked at that and said, well, this isn't FDA approved. I don't want to take this. And he had no clue, so I had to try to explain all that to him. But if the FDA is involved, it's a bad thing. So in the Republic of Texas, I'm pretty much for free, open market everything. You could put out, make whatever you want, do whatever you want, give people all the options they want, but there should be consequences if you put out something that hurts somebody or causes a problem. But unless there's a complaint or a charge against them in some way, they should be able to make whatever they want. Those pharmaceutical companies can knock themselves out, but doctors like me are going to continue to educate them and take people away from that so they don't hurt themselves.
Okay, I heard of this one thing that FDA has been pushing on an awful lot of people. Maybe they've stopped recently, but I doubt it. They probably doubled or tripled it. It's called Ambien, right? And it has lots of side effects with people. I'm going to give you a scenario real quick. Here we are sitting in the Republic of Texas. Now, this thing called Ambien is created outside of the Republic of Texas, and it's got to cross our borders. One of the things I believe in the Republic of Texas, tariffs come from imports and exports, and they can always change and things like that. But should there be a defined list of, because me personally, well, do I have the right to tell people they can't take this thing called Ambien? Right? Is that my right? Am I culpable if I live on a border town and allow it through? What would your thoughts be? Well,
first off, my thing is we should educate people and let them make their own decision. Ambien is to help you sleep and calm you, and the problem is a hormone imbalance. It's not that you're Ambien deficient, but pharmaceutical companies would like you to believe you're Ambien deficient. So I think we should have a part of the Republic that will educate people when somebody wants to sell stuff, and we should, before somebody sells just anything with no paperwork, there should be some investigation, some kind of a explanation from that company, what the product's for, what they're doing with it, and why, and then we can have people like me explain to the population what's going on, and they can make their own decision. But because I don't agree with Ambien, I wouldn't tell them, no, you can't sell it here, because somebody might want to buy it no matter what we tell them.
Right. Okay. Well, that's really good to hear, because I don't want to stop anybody from taking anything they want to take. Right. You want to eat poison, go ahead. And I'm not saying Ambien's poison either. I've heard stuff, and I don't agree with most pharmaceuticals. But if a product heads to the border, let's say day one, right? All of a sudden, the product heads to the border. It used to be the United States, and they try to get through one of the border towns. How are we going to react? We're just going to say, well, what do you got in there? Well, we got harmonicas and Ambien, right? Well, harmonicas are safe, right, I guess. And Ambien, we don't know. So we're going to have to address that at some point, saying there's going to have to be, what is the word, a registry? It's not really a registry. It's like, well, this product has entered, and this is what we know about it, and you deal with it.
Yeah,
right?
I think that you're going to have something, probably somebody like me with a background in the field that can say, okay, you want to sell this in our nation, then you need to apply and bring it in, because it is a pharmaceutical. It's not something that people can buy over the counter. And then once that word is out, and instead of having people only see the crazy commercials today, they can actually read something, and if it's applied for and they want to sell it and they do everything proper, let it go. Because to me, if you try to restrict it, that's when you get the black market and all the problems. And if somebody wants to do something, and I wouldn't give Ambien to anybody, but if somebody wants to do that, and we've educated them and they make their own decision, then so be it. Let them do what they want.
Yeah, totally. I guess that goes the same with water and all the stuff that's in the water systems throughout the corporate U.S. We went through this thing, what was it, last year or the year before, where there was a bill in the House. It was called the Clean Water Act. Do you remember that one?
Yes.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that whole rigmarole?
Well, again, the best water is spring water, and unless somebody's polluting your springs, that's going to be the best water always to drink. Filtered water gets rid of some bad things, but it also takes too much good out. So I recommend to everybody to drink spring water, and any type of other water that you drink, like river or lakes and that kind of stuff, you want it where it's running. You want water that is moving, not sitting stagnant. And as far as having all these rules, again, if somebody does something where the people are getting sick or they purposely put out bad water, we just, again, need to educate people. And my most common thing is drink natural spring water, and that's the best for you.
Yeah, well, I like a lot of what you're saying as far as spring water versus distilled water and all that other stuff. That's probably a conversation for another day, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. But one of the things that I really wanted to talk about the water bill was the initial focus for a bill in the House. And so initially the House will come up with a bill, and then it goes through the Senate, and then everybody votes on it, and then it goes in. Now, one of the statements, and I believe Sally Jarnicki was putting the bill forward, and the idea was to, deal with fluoride and chlorine in the water system, and we went through and we talked about a whole bunch of stuff, and not very many people, I don't remember one person liking fluoride, but at the end of the bill it came up to the government can't tell you what to do and shouldn't tell you what to do.
Yeah, and I agree with that, but I would think one of the good things with the Republic is we're not going to have outsiders running the people's water. That'll be something that you take care of as a nation, and that's one of the responsibilities of the government, is to make sure that there's good, clean, healthy water sources. So if the government, which is us, doesn't put fluoride or any of that junk in there, then it's not going to be there to begin with. Now, if some private company wanted to do that, then I think that's where their bill might have made some sense. But as long as the government takes care of the water, or you've got water on your own ranch or wherever you live, we shouldn't really have a problem where we have to force that. I can't imagine any normal person wanting to put fluoride, which is very bad for you, in their own water. So as long as the government doesn't let it happen to the government-supplied water for the nation, then we should be good.
And that's kind of like one of those, all these models, with drugs and water applies to all aspects of life, right? The federal government, for the lack of a better term, or, God, can you call it federal in the Republic? The governmental group, the Senate, the House, the executive branch, would we call that the federal government?
Probably not. We don't look at it as federal, but I guess you would say in a way it is a federal system because you have a individual county government, and then you do have something that the word federal might apply okay there.
Now, was I right, and I believe I am, when I say a republic, the Senate and the House and the executive branch, all those guys, they do minimal laws, and then everything else is done on the county level. Is that the way you see it too?
That's the way it's supposed to be. Currently, fortunate for us, is we don't have all the county level positions filled, so I think a little more is applied to the House and the Senate right now, and also like right now our Secretary of State, Mr. Ford, has conducted the elections because there weren't enough chief justices in the county to handle all that. But normally I'd say you're right on the money. The county is the focal point, and the chief justice and the justice of the peace and your county sheriff are the most important law at the county level, and the sheriff is the highest law on the land in his county.
Right, and then so as a county, like currently in the Republic of Texas, I'm in Travis County, and Travis County could get together and they say we want to ban green shoes, and then we can go ahead and get rid of green shoes. And if somebody crosses the county line with green shoes, then we're going to have to decide what to do to people that walk into our county with green shoes, right? Do we turn them away?
Yeah. I guess
it's a silly law. It's a silly law, but it's a framework, right? Because different people don't like different things, and I could totally see somebody going, we don't want baggy pants. That's happened in the corporate U.S. before.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons I think you see people like you and me and the rest of the Republic trying to get away from all that, because that it got so out of hand. And when it comes down to it, it's pretty simple. You don't harm your neighbor doesn't harm you, and you don't harm your neighbor's property, and he doesn't harm you. Outside of that, live and let live, and it ought to be a much more freer, friendlier society. Yeah,
definitely. Well, I think it would be kind of interesting to see how that plays out when a county has to decide whether they want to ban green shoes or not. Then they'll have to think through the consequences of, banning green shoes, and will people still come to your county if they're not allowed to wear their green shoes? And I don't know, that could impact an awful lot of stuff. I know that one of the problems with the Republic that a lot of people see is ethically based. So if I have one county and I think, it's okay to have green shoes, and you think it's not, and you don't want your kids to come over to that county because, they wear green shoes, right? And you're like, don't go to that county, right? Go around. And everybody knows you guys for the anti-green shoe people. Now, that analogy is just there because there are so many different, problems. I wanted to use that one. But I know I'd just say, don't go over there. We don't deal with that, you know. It's kind of strange.
On another point of that we didn't discuss is if somebody passed something like that and there's a complaint and they bring it to a court like mine, if they don't get satisfaction, they do have the route through appeals to take it all the way to the public Supreme Court, and they could settle an issue like that. But normally it would be at the county level, and if you made a really dumb law and nobody complained, then it would stay. But they would have an access to the Supreme Court of the Republic should they need that, and ultimately the Supreme Court Chief Justice, Mr. Cannon, would be involved in something like that. But if somebody went along with it, then it would never go anywhere.
Okay, got it. Now that is interesting because let's say Susie Cammett, what county is she in? Is she's in Kerr County or I forget what that one is?
I believe it's Bear County. Doesn't she have the largest county in Texas? Hers encompasses all those areas in places like Wyoming and Colorado and Oklahoma that were taken away when Texas was supposedly annexed.
Wow, that's huge. Well, okay, so she comes over into my county, Travis County. Let's just use that as a scenario. And she goes, what do you mean? I like green shoes. Well, we've passed a law against green shoes. So what you're telling me, she'd go back and she'd file a complaint that there's nothing wrong with green shoes. It's actually not constitutional to be, passing that law or make whatever argument. Then that would be bumped up, and then their county would talk to Travis County, and they'd go back and forth, and it could go all the way up to the Supreme Court of the Republic of Texas for mediation or mitigation, I believe.
Yes, because
is that what you're telling me?
Right. It could be settled at my court level. We also have district judges, and it could be settled there. But going to the Supreme Court would be an appeals type situation, so that if the case was not settled to the satisfaction of the person complaining, they could take it that far.
Okay, well that's neat. I've always wondered that because I've drawn up a free and independent Texas in my head before, and I said, well, how does that happen day one, right? And you're like, well, we have all these border towns that go from, nothing to prospering because all of a sudden they have a job, right? They're to guard the borders. They're to deal with ingress and egress into Texas, however that's going to turn out. There's probably a lot of details to flesh that out with. But when you start going into one of my problems is, today everybody's so used to having so many laws that the first thing they're going to want to do is rope themselves in with a whole bunch of laws again. And we're just going to go crazy on that.
Yeah, and that's where people like you and me have to speak out and keep people educated and stop that. Because, like I've told them in some of the meetings, if you start doing some of those same things, then you'll be the same government that you can't stand right now. And the whole idea is simple, common sense stuff. If there's a problem in a community, then my job is to bring the people together that have the dispute, let them air their complaint respectfully in front of a jury or even just in front of the judge sometimes, and settle that where they can all walk away with their heads held high and agree, even if they don't agree perfectly, agree to disagree partially, but settle the dispute amongst friends and neighbors, which is the way it was intended. And common sense is the biggest part of common law in our republic.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Hey, we're rounding the top of the hour, and I've got President Jarnicki on the line, and we're going to be talking to him about the international situation that where we are with it. I know I told you I wanted to go there a little bit. And what was your thoughts the first time that you heard the international solution that the Republic of Texas puts forth?
I think that's one of the things that sold me, because instead of just belly aching and and saying we're going to do this and we're going to do that. They actually had studied, especially our Supreme Court Chief Justice, Mr. Cannon, had studied all this, and then those volunteers in that international committee have been learning and studying this for a few years, and that was their goal, to pursue it in the international courts and international community, which is where you get true remedy, and that's where when you have a treaty problem, you have to go. So that was pretty impressive to me. They're going down a really good road, but it's probably the only road that the United States would ever listen to, or Texas State would listen to.
Now, and when we're talking international, we're not talking United Nations. That's different.
Right.
Right. And that's where a lot of people kind of tend to, cross the two together. And maybe they do have touch points in there, but it's totally different. It's a international court. Yeah, I knew there were some people that actually appeals to them. I find more people going, you can't trust the United Nations. I go, well, no, you can't. But then this isn't the United Nations. This is International Criminal Court, right? And that's a mitigated thing. They have us with the United States. Anyway, that's enough of me talking. Let's bring John on the line. Let me push a little button and watch things go swirling, and we'll see if he pops in.
Good
John
evening,
Steve.
Steve. Yes.
Well, good evening, John.
And
Good evening,
Doc,
John.
I'm glad to hear you on there.
Good to hear you, Mr. President. How you doing tonight?
Well, I'm doing just finer than frog's hair,
Well,
as we say in Fredericksburg.
We don't want to put you on the hot seat or anything, but Steve and I made you a chair right on top of the fireplace, so sit down and tell us about it.
I've been there before.
Somebody's got to be on the hot seat, right?
That's correct, yes.
Because, oh, man, there's so much energy and people want to keep moving forward, right? After the Valentine's Day raid, that just got everybody moving forward. And I saw a lot of passion. There's a lot of passion for getting this finished. Where are we with, going to getting this into International Criminal Court? What's the holdup? That's the first point I need answered.
Well, the holdup is basically it has due to the fact that it has been tried before when we were a so-called provisional government. This was back in the 90s, and the people in charge at that time attempted to go to the U.S. court, and that's like the fox guarding the hen house. Nothing was going to happen or did happen there, other than they refused to hear the case for lack of jurisdiction. And there was one gentleman who was a part of the provisional that tried to take it to I believe they call it a rabbinical court in Israel. Obviously, that went nowhere. And it had been tried to get into an international court, and they obviously did not have their ducks in a row or was not doing the right things to get to the right court. There are, as I understand it, 120 different international courts. Where we're at this time is trying to get all the ducks in a row and make sure that we get to the right place first. There's no point in beating around all over the place and going to several different ones and getting sidetracked. We've been...
Okay, so tell me, what are the ducks? Which one are the ducks? First is which one of the courts? I know you have somewhat narrowed that down, right? Is that one of the ducks? Which one of the courts?
Well, yes, and the Chief Justice is still working on that to make sure that it goes to the right one first. These memorials that have been written over the years, and our international committee is working on getting going will help us to get to the proper court. The memorial basically is asking other nations who are already a part of the international venue to assist us to get to the right place at the right time.
So the memorial, I mean, a couple meetings ago, I heard that word for the first time when Chief Justice Cannon brought it up in response to what can we do. Are we looking at creating one memorial for the Republic of Texas, or is this something like an affidavit? Because it kind of sounded just like, they have a form on the website that's called an affidavit. And are they the same? Is this different?
No, this is different. The memorial basically sets out the problem. It's just like when you're going into a U.S. or a state of Texas court or even the Republic of Texas court, you're going to sue someone for something. Well, the memorial states that this is the problem. And at the top of the memorial it says, well, in our case it would be Republic of Texas versus United States of America. And the memorial sets out the problems that have caused this to get to this point over this number of years. I mean, it's all written down, documented. You're not going to put in fantasy or fiction in this, because somebody obviously will know if you didn't, or if it's fiction or whatever. So you got to have everything just right and have documentation to back up everything you say. Not only that, you have to be thinking ahead of time as to, say in this case, the United States rebuts part of it, that you have a reply to their rebuttal. And this can go on for a period of time, and I have absolutely no idea how long, but it can go on. The second part of the memorial would be, what you expect to gain from this with a judgment in our favor. So that has to be all worked out and put down. I have missed the last couple of international meetings, and I know Doc has been a part of them, and he may probably be able to add something to what I have said, or go on from there.
What do you think, Doc?
Yeah, I think you've said it pretty well. The part you mentioned, the actual term is prayer, and where you're asking for the remedy. And I've heard some wonderful things that were written already. I think it was last night or Friday night. It was a call, but the code didn't work, so I couldn't get in, so I missed that one too. But they've been doing a good job, and Mr. Cannon is explaining step by step what has to be done. And it looks like it's going to be put together really well, and I have a good feeling about it.
Okay, so that's one of the ducks, right? The memorial is going to be this thing that one of the ducks is the court. One of the ducks is the memorial. What other gotchas? What else do we need?
Well, we need probably, it's been guesstimated, probably $500,000 in order to be able to get everything to the court and whatever it takes. I mean, obviously, we don't have any very wealthy people within the Republic that we're aware of. All of us that have been part of it, you, Doc, myself, everybody else, we've been operating all these years on our own dimes, but there's none of us that are multimillionaires, and can come up with the money that's going to take for a team of probably international lawyers or an international law firm, travel expense, and things such as that. When you get somebody like our Chief Justice that swears that he will not fly to wherever this happens to be, I'm going to have to get him on a boat.
Yep. Pretty much.
There are lots of expenses that will have to be incurred in order to get to that point that we can argue our case in front of this international tribunal.
John, don't you have a mailing address that people could, while we're figuring out the electronic way, that people could send checks and donations to help out if they like to the Republic?
Oh, yes. It can go down to Victoria. Let me see if I can pull this thing up. The auditor and the bank account is in Victoria, Texas.
Well, while you're looking that up, Steve's brought it up before, and we can mention it again. It would be great to let people know that they can contact that same address, which is also Mr. Branham, the Vice President, and purchase Republic money, which is a big help also, because it's a wonderful thing to buy for yourself, but it also does help the Republic. And then checks to that location, since everybody pretty much, like you said, is doing everything on their own dime right now. And one of the nice things people can be sure of, money will not be wasted or used on frugal things. It will be used to help move this memorial forward.
Well, that's absolutely true. We had set aside a separate fund for this international thing, which goes directly to the Secretary of State's office. Let me see. I'm not real swift on computers, as both of y'all know.
Oh, that's okay, John. You'll get there eventually. Well, maybe not with computers, but at least you'll get to that page. Not everybody needs to know how to work on computers.
Okay. Well, here, I've just pulled up the Secretary of State's office, and as I say, the Secretary of State's office has this one fund that is being set up to take care of, what we're doing here internationally.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, we definitely need to do something more about the monetary, problem of, the Republic of Texas. And I, like I said earlier on the show, I have no faith in Dwala in that account coming together. I might be wrong. Actually, do you know anything about that, Doc?
I haven't heard anything of it going forward right now, so what you said earlier I think is pretty accurate. It's kind of in limbo at the moment. The way we're at
we
right
should
now,
do something. Go ahead.
No, I said the way we're at right now, our Chief Justice for the Supreme Court won't fly, so we could probably pitch in and get him a canoe at the best.
I tell you, that's really the least of our concerns, Ray not wanting to fly. That's great, and I wouldn't make him fly. So I'm going to segue back from picking out all these ducks in the international thing and continue on money for a second before we get back to talking about ducks. You talked the other day about Bitcoin, gold, and the Republic of Texas, John. That was a few weeks ago. I can't remember that whole conversation. That was a private individual wanting to do something with the Republic of Texas gold?
Yes, in the last few weeks, several of us have been involved in meetings with some high-powered individuals. I'm not going to mention their names by any means, but one man that we met with first was from Switzerland, and he has contacts. He has a foundation set up, and he has offered to, for one of his foundations, to help the Republic of Texas because he believes in what we're doing. He also is or knows a lot of international law firms who he would recommend to assist us in this process. He also is very much wants to see the Republic get another form of currency, which we pretty much all agree there will have to be something besides gold and silver or precious metals, because the supply of precious metal is not all that great. We have talked at great length, amongst us in the Republic and also this gentleman, that there will probably have to be some form of electronic currency, such as something similar to Bitcoin or this carrot bars or something such as that. And this gentleman suggests that he's willing to help us get that set up and going. He has a team of people somewhere here in the world that is ready, willing, and able to help us get that going. Another meeting we had with another gentleman over in Houston is interested in building a depository for precious metal for Texian people, and have that tied to like a carrot bar type thing, which can be all handled pretty much electronically, where you deposit say 10 pounds of gold and 50 pounds of silver in this depository and use that card, and everything would be electronically handled for the balance transactions, just like using a MasterCard or a Visa.
I really want to get back to the ducks and bunnies, but I need to ask you a question. This is begging to be asked. The Republic of Texas, in the Republic when it gets its independence, Texians are allowed to transact business in whatever currency they wish. Is that true or false?
No, I mean, if you're an international business, you can transact in whatever you happen to be. It's basically a barter type system. What?
Right, I'm an individual, so I can trade whatever I want, or
right.
use FRNs or pesos or Bitcoin. So does the government actually? Does the Republic of Texas have to have its own money system? I know it does everything in silver and gold. That's within the Constitution.
Right.
But is its job to provide the monetary system for the Republic? Can't that be a private
I personally believe that it should be basically a private type currency. The government itself, when you're dealing with other governments and all that, yes, the Constitution says that transactions must be in gold and silver. For individuals, hey, if you want to trade 2 chickens for a bushel of corn or something like that, that's your business. You don't have to go through the official currency of the Republic of Texas.
I could see one of those kind of technical solutions. If I were trading in FRNs, maybe I'd be operating in international law or something. I think they do that to us right now, don't they?
Yeah, pretty much. And until this one meeting that we had, I had always been under the impression that the dollar was a copyrighted thing by the United States government. The gentleman from Switzerland says, well, that used to be the case, but dollar is can be copyrighted internationally now. I mean, we could have money called the Texian dollar, and the U.S. can't do a darn thing about it.
Yeah, and well, I don't know how accurate that information is, because I remember which mint was that when that got
Liberty.
in trouble for calling it Liberty?
Liberty dollar. Liberty dollar, and he got in trouble with that because the U.S., and, you know, right or wrong, I don't know, but he's in jail, and the U.S. nailed him over copyright infringement for the use of the word dollar. But this has been a few years ago, too.
Oh, yeah, it was in 2008, if I remember right. You know, stole a bunch of people's money, and, well, he didn't. The U.S. government ended up taking a whole bunch of
Right, the
gold.
U.S. government stole all their money.
Yeah, that was bad stuff. Okay, I want to get through my ducks. Apologize for going financial on you.
That's all right.
So what we're dealing with is memorials, right? So that's one duck. The other duck is dollar sign. We need money, lots of money, or a way to actually finance this thing. Now, I think if you get all the other ducks, that duck will be easy to get, right? I know a lot of people have a soft spot in their heart for Texas and independence, and well, they're typically getting fed up with the corporate United States and the two-party, what is that called? Stage show? So the dollar sign, I mean, we got to focus on the dollar sign, but I think that'll be handled, and so we'll raise travel expenses and his boat and all that, and I like the kayak idea. What other ducks do we have?
Well,
we need lawyers, right? International lawyers.
We do and we don't. What we're into on this, with this case, I don't believe that we can or would even want to or even entertain the thought of using lawyers from the United States. The bar card thing
sure,
basically says that they are tied to the bar. I don't think that international firms from other countries have that same obligation in any way, shape, or form. I may be wrong, but I don't know. I think that that's the way it is.
So we do need to figure out which individual group is going to help us file the proper forms and get this thing going, because there's got to be a process that we go through.
Well, that's one reason that the gentleman from Switzerland that we met with knows several international law firms that are in Europe, and that's where they're based. That's where they basically do their practice. So that
would be good, and I hope that starts coming around, because I don't know about you, I'm pretty antsy. The state of the world is kind of getting worse every day, and I just got that feeling we need to do something. And that's kind of why I got you on the horn, right? I want to know what's going on, where are the holdups, so how can people help? Of course, they can go to thetexasrepublic.com, and just, go to the meeting, decide to become a Texian, right?
Yeah.
And tell me more about that, John, actually. Tell me more about becoming a Texian. You had a conversation last week, actually, about filling out an affidavit. It's called an affidavit of residency, or What's
it's an affidavit for Republic of Texas citizenship, and there are those within the Republic of Texas that do not like that word citizen. I personally don't have a problem with it because we have one gentleman that has tried to take the word citizen all the way back to Roman days, and we're not in Rome. We're in present day Republic of Texas. As in our Constitution, everything in there is interpreted by the 1828 Webster's Dictionary, and I have looked up the word citizen in that dictionary, and I don't have a problem with it myself. Some prefer to call us Texian nationals, whichever.
That's another one of those words that distract from the whole world, right? All of a sudden you're like, well, I'm not I define the word as servant of, right? Okay. But if I focus on that, then I lose sight of the goal. And the goal right now is that affidavit is a declaration by you, by the individual, that states that I have lived here in Texas for, what's the
6 months.
Time?
6 months.
Right. And just saying that you're a Texian, right?
Yes.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
And then you need a thumbprint, and you have to sign it, and that's it.
Sign it with 2 witnesses.
But a lot of people have a hard time signing stuff. They're afraid. The fear factor comes in. Why do I want to put my name and a thumbprint down to become a Texian? What do I get out of it? And, what do they get out of becoming a Texian?
Well, they get the opportunity to be a free individual when our independence is granted. They get freedom from any more United States meddling, such as the IRS, DOJ, any of those alphabet agencies of the United States. Freedom is. Let me digress here for just a second. Senator Bob Wilson made a very great statement, which I think will go down in the annals of history. No one alive today has ever lived in a true republic. So we may have a difficult time trying to figure out what to do with freedom. And I'm paraphrasing that. That's not the exact word, but I'm just paraphrasing.
I'm sure it'll get tweaked quite a bit over time, that is. And I do love that statement. I try to put my head around what it would be like to live in a republic, and that's why I always bug you with questions and so forth. The affidavit needs to be filed with the Secretary of State, and Billy Ford is the current Secretary of State. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And so they just go to the website and download the document, fill it out. Does it need to be signed by a black pen? Did I hear something about that, or was that just a bunch of...
No. Black can be copied very easily. Generally speaking, you either use a blue or red ink for a legal type document.
Okay. I've never been privy to that line of thought, but I can see where it comes from. Definitely it makes it harder to forge a document, which the corporate United States loves doing that, right?
Right. And something else that I probably would like to add to that is that we in the Republic highly value people's individual privacy. Somebody that signs a declaration of affidavit of citizenship, the only one that knows who all the people who are citizens are is the Secretary of State. And that is on purpose. He is not to ever give out that information to anybody else. It's privacy is paramount in what we do. And so anyone who is thinking or listening to this program who is thinking, oh, well, maybe I would, maybe I wouldn't become a Texian, we value their privacy, and your names will never be given to anyone else. There's only one that has that information, and that's in the Secretary of State's office.
Right. He's been Secretary of State for a long time, right?
I appointed him. I mean, he did such a good job. He's been Secretary of State under 2 previous presidents also. And he is... I appointed him also when I was elected.
He goes beyond the scope of, what he's required to do from what I see. Yes, he does. And I'm not saying that he does too much or anything. He just, that's a good appointment, by the way. So you get your affidavits in. If you don't have anything to really worry about, if you're worried about privacy concerns out there, the government knowing that you're a Texian, well, heck, they already know, right? It's like they know everything.
Well, they claim to.
Yeah, that's really curious. Okay, so I'm going to go over the ducks one more time. We've got our first, let's put it in order. We need money, right? 2, we need our memorial finished. The memorial for Texas, the Republic of Texas versus United States. Okay. 3rd thing, we need to pick a court specifically. And then 3rd thing, we need to assemble a team of individuals, a legal team, for the lack of a better word, to walk with us down that process. And I know we're working on the memorial currently, and that there could be some potential help on the international court lawyers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and then money, we're still there with money, but once we sign all that, then we got to figure out a vote for Ray. Did I miss anything, John?
Not that I can think of at this time.
I figured it out. When are we going to do something?
I would say in my...
And I know it's putting you on the spot and asking you to hit a date, and that's really hard, but like I say, I'm really anxious. I want to do something. I don't want to do it wrong, but I want to move. I don't want to sit there and read a whole bunch of documents and do all that. And, I've gotten a couple of those mailers of Ray's, and he hands out a lot of stuff to read. So go ahead, answer the question. In your personal belief, what kind of a time frame are we dealing with?
I would say, in my opinion, that within the next 2 to 3 months, that the process of having the memorial completed and moving on the route that is supposed to be moving should be happening.
Well, that'll be interesting. Let's see. We're currently in May, June, July. I'm going to have to bring you back in July, towards the end of July, and see what you think about the 2 months, crystal ball gazing that you did, and figure out where we're at. Because I really do hope you're right, and I hope we're making full traction. And I do know Doc, I appreciate you working on the International Committee, and same with you, John, trying to figure out that route. I mean, I've only experienced the monthly meetings, and I could imagine the conversations you guys are having. So thank you both for working on that.
Well, this international thing, we first started this, it's a little over 2.5 years ago. And we would meet at least once a month and go over several things. And, Justice Cannon has probably done the most as far as looking into international law and getting everything put together. The man is a voracious reader, and I will certainly give him all the accolades possible for that. I know that he sends out things, he discovers things and sends it out, hey, you need to read this and read that, and I have repeatedly told him and several others, look, for some reason, and I don't have any idea what it is, I cannot read something from a computer screen. 5 minutes and it's all a blur. I have to print it out and read it off the paper. What happens is when Justice Cannon sends this stuff out and says, well, you need to read this, and this, there's 400, 600, 800 pages that need to be read. I personally do not have the ability to do all that. Others may or may not, I don't know. But there's some new, younger blood that have become a part of it, of this international scene, putting this memorial together, who are just like a racehorse in the gate, ready to go, and that's good.
Well, that's good. That's really good, because seriously, the time is short. We got to keep moving, and I think that's about it for tonight, guys. I'm really sitting here looking at a new black computer. I hate using computers, you guys. It seems like every time I start doing something, I blow a computer. But, John, I'd like to thank you for coming on the show, President Jarnicki. We're definitely going to have to get you back in about 2 months and find out, how that crystal ball works.
Well, I hope that it works real well.
Oh, I'm betting on you, too. I hope I'm betting on the right one. But, I'd bet no other way. I need this to happen. I want this to happen. Texas needs to be free, period. Good night, Doc. Good night, John. I'm going to close this out with a quick little rant, and then I will go ahead and hang out with my kids.
All right. Well, thanks for the invite being on your show, Steve.
Okay. Thank you, John.
Good night, John.
Good night.
Good night, Doc.
Good night, Steve. Good show.
Thank you for joining us. My God, if you guys haven't figured out yet how important it is for Texas to become free and independent, I need you to start looking at things. I need you to start looking at the paper and the lies that are in the papers. Try to find the big agendas and, what's going on. Do you not like the idea of Texas reassembling itself and going to the international court and saying, hey, these guys, we were in an agreement, they backed out, and then somebody that actually has some muscle. It's not the United Nations. You have a secondary goal as well. Texas needs to be free. It was free at one time. Working with the Republic of Texas, you will help achieve, Texas independence. Either that or they're going to, America's going down, my friends. I'm sorry to say that. It's kind of, maybe it's been gone for a while, and we're just dealing with the aftermath. Can't play you a song as I leave. The song computer's still working. If you're interested to hear about all my computer troubles, join me on Wednesday night. You can go over to fbglive.com. That's Fred Baker George. And I will be talking about it on my Digital Resistor show. So take care and good night. Oh, yeah, that's the right button. Love you guys. Take care.